we got to tell. Again, judgment call, whistle. I wish I could do that. Sometimes I can, but just right now, I don't know, my lips are dry or what, but I can't do that sharp whistle. But anyway, judgment call. Chris, when we were kids, played football, our two front yards, Mom's front yard and Miss Lois's front yard, were the football field. We had two front yards, so we had a pretty good bit of space to play. And that was our football field. And of course, all the neighborhood kids, we have, football. We come up, we form teams and we play football. And Chris, of course, my brother had a severe speech impediment when he was young. And we won't never forget, everybody just went on this. Chris, of course, he was younger than us. If he felt like that was like someone was interfering, in other words, he said, infant, fire. Infant, fire. What he said was interference, 5 yards. And back then, that was the penalty, I don't know so much if they had that same penalty now or quite that same way, but he said interference, 5 yards. But he said infant, fire. But anyway, judgment call, whistleblow, judgment call. Those claiming to prophesy by their fruit, that is, by their lifestyle, by their character, by their teaching, by their influence, we've got to test them. You've got to use a judgment call. We are responsible for making a spiritual discernment or a spiritual judgment call. Some of that same crowd are those who use verse 1, judge not, that you be not judged. But the Lord himself calls for a judgment call here. He says, beware of false prophets. Make a judgment call concerning them. So many are being misled in the wrong way nowadays. It's very obvious that they're being misled by the wrong ones. False prophets were prevalent in the Old Testament even, whereas God's true prophets were often in the minority. That seems to be the case today. The guys who are really speaking the truth, the guys who are proclaiming the truth of the Word of God, the guys who are preaching the gospel of Jesus Christ, the guys who are preaching the true gospel that God has given us, those guys are in the minority. As I said last week, week 4, I think it was, or a few weeks ago, whenever it was, many who are leading mega churches are false prophets. Now, some of this, now I ain't saying all of them have mega churches. I said many of them. Because there's a whole lot of them in smaller churches that are also false prophets. For whatever reasons. We've got to be a discerner of the Word of God and discern what these so-called prophets are speaking forth and putting forth. Just like in Elijah's day. Elijah had a confrontation. He was one, and he confronted 400 prophets of Baal. One man against 400. Well, one man and God against 400. He was confronted by 400 false prophets. And of course, God proved them wrong. And Jesus said these false prophets appear as sheep, or they appear in sheep's clothing, but inside, in reality, they are wolves, ravenous wolves, wanting to tear you apart, tear you asunder for their own selfish gains and benefit. And that's a perfect description of those preachers who have denied or distorted the truth of the gospel. What gets me, amazes me, is some of these guys, you don't have to have a whole lot of spiritual discernment to figure out they're not true prophets. They're not genuine prophets. They're not genuine preachers of the Word of God. You don't have to have a whole lot of discernment to figure out some of these things. And so many people are still yet fooled by them so easily. They look like a lamb, but they act like a wolf. Their description is similar to that of the great false prophet in Revelation chapter 13.